Hey, how you doing? Former much fatter man here. Part two.
I just wanted some sauce on those zingers.
I was actually hesitant on making this video for a few reasons. One, I already lost a bunch of weight. I'm back down to where I was when I lost a bunch of weight in 2019, 2020. I'm just a few pounds heavier than my lowest back then. I'm about 266 right now. I was 259 at that point. And secondly, in case you haven't noticed, I didn't get all the way there, thank God, but I almost put on all the weight again. I was getting close, like 30 pounds away. And I want to go into what the hell happened, why I gained all the way back, and what finally woke me up to, like, yeah, I need to make me losing weight a permanent thing, not something that I could keep yo-yoing back and forth with. I am going to be 45 years old this year. I don't think that was a smart decision, and it was time to permanently put myself back on track. So in late 2018, 2019, I knew I was in real rough shape. I was at my biggest at that point, and I had some life events happen that, well, stress was also a good thing, and it helped me to lose a bunch of weight. And if you remember, I lost a bunch of weight quickly. I didn't have any kind of surgery, didn't take any kind of medicine. We'll go more into that later. It was the all stress and whirlwind life diet. And I used the stress, which initially made me lose like 30 pounds fairly quickly, as like the catapult to make me continue losing the weight. And I did. And I stuck to it for, I would say, until early 2022. I put some back on, but I was still significantly smaller. My biggest, I was at 420 pounds, and I was way below that. Like I said, I put some back on, but I managed to kind of stay at the same size for a very long time. And then something happened in 2023 that I never, ever saw coming. And I was putting on some weight at this point, but this was, like I said, I was managing it. This just set me over the edge. And that's when my daughter got sick. I don't talk about it much. You guys knew what happened. I stated what happened because my scheduling, even though I can't keep a schedule to save my life, but my scheduling, I just kind of disappeared. So I had to mention what happened. But my daughter almost died. She had from an allergic reaction, which from a antibiotic called Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And yeah, it almost killed her. She lost a good majority of her skin. She still doesn't have her vision to this day, but in pretty much every way, she's fully recovered. You know, that's a major thing to lose. And it was devastating to find out that news that she wouldn't get her vision back. But yeah, it was something that was completely out of left field. It was horrifying, and I didn't know how to handle it. I still don't really know, to be quite honest with you. I've managed it. I've become more grounded and accept what happened, and I'm happy that she's here and she's very lively and healthy and independent. And you know, for what happened, she rebounded, and doctors said if she had what she had, because she had a even worse form of Stevens-Johnson's called TEN, TEN is the acronym. If she had this illness and this reaction to a medication, which was always a risk that you could have a reaction like this, is very rare, but you could. But if she had Stevens-Johnson syndrome in 2014, she probably wouldn't have survived, because they didn't have the technology they did now to help replace the skin and heal the skin when she went through that in 2023, like they did back in like 2013, 2014. But needless to say, I didn't manage that well in the slightest. And like anyone, because it's an addiction like anything else, I went back to food. The late night stuff is what was always my enemy, and it became my enemy again. And in the beginning, it was, just a day here, just a day there. But because of what I was going through with my daughter, next thing you know, a day here and a day there of, I'm going to just order food tonight becomes every day. And you get bigger and you just kind of become accustomed to eating unhealthy. And that was my solace. And every time I got done streaming, this is where it really got out of control towards the very end until I put the brakes back on again. I was so bad. I was ordering Taco Bell on DoorDash and scheduling it. So say I streamed till 2 a.m. I would have it right at my doorstep at 2 a.m. And man, I was getting grilled cheese burritos and they're tater tots with like the queso on top and meat on top of there. I would get 2 of the grilled cheese burritos filled up in those potatoes in a container, and I would down them all and go to bed. Because of everything, I just kind of lost it. Now, I'm also an adult, and you take responsibility for your own action. And, I should have put the brakes on instead of just losing myself like that, and should have and could have, but I didn't, because it was like the one thing with everything going on that made me feel better. But then later on, I stepped on the scale because I'm like, I know I put a crap ton of weight back on. I was trying to deny it, to maybe put on shirts that I would used to fit in comfortably, but now were quite a bit tight. And I stepped on that scale, and I saw the number 389, and I was like, oh my God, I'm almost back up to 420 again. Like I said, I was 31 pounds away, which with the way I was eating, with all that, getting the food in the wee hours of the morning and getting Taco Bell sometimes multiple times a week at 2 a.m., I was going to be beyond my weight if I kept going. And I remember I went to the doctor. I'm like, it was routine blood work. And she's like, I got a phone call, and you are barely diabetic. I think it's time for you to take some Mounjaro. And that was a sobering thing, to hear that, like, because diabetes does run in my family, especially on my dad's side. And that was a wake up call. And I started on 2.5 milligrams of Mounjaro. And man, let me tell you, in the beginning is the key part here. I had to force myself to eat food. The bare minimum, in the beginning, if I was having 1,000 calories a day, it was, that would be a decent amount. And it was weird how much that helped me. I was very against Mounjaro. People brought it up to me before, but I also wasn't a diabetic at that point. I am not diabetic with the medication now, by the way. So I was like, no, I've done it before. Even though I really kind of didn't, thinking back, I was just going through a really stressful period. It's weird how one stressful period I went to food, another stressful period I ran away from food. But anyway, with Mounjaro, at least in the beginning, it really curbed my appetite. And it was really like a watershed moment. It was amazing. It was like the chain was broken once again. And this time it was really broken from my addiction to food. And the weight just started flying off of me. And I was only on 2.5 milligrams in the beginning. I don't know if I mentioned that before. And 6 months later, I went back to my doctor and I was already down 90 pounds. And she came in, she's like, what the hell happened? Because with my size, like they said, the average weight I would have lost on Mounjaro, and usually it's on a much higher dose, than like sometimes 10 milligrams or something like that. 7.5, I was on 5. because I went up to 5 and I stayed there at still what I'm on right now. She's like, yeah, people lose weight, but not what you're doing. And I said I used it, it scared me straight getting that phone call that I was barely a diabetic, which I was diabetic. And I used that as the impetus to put me on the straight and narrow. And yes, the Mounjaro helps, but a lot of it was me. And it's same. I'm still on 5 milligrams now. And of course it does help with my appetite, but has my appetite returned to a degree? I would say about 70%. So there are still times where I'm recording this at 4 a.m. right now because I was working on other stuff. I'm hungry right now. I'm starving right now. Am I going to eat anything? No. And when I went back to my doctor too, she's like, I could bring you up a dose, but since you're doing such a good job and you're disciplining yourself, I'd rather not increase your dose of Mounjaro. And I agreed with her because even now, like I said, I'm hungry, but I want to learn to have a healthy relationship with food. Not because I go through a stressful situation, I just lose a bunch of weight, which happened the first time, or I go through a stressful situation and I go to food to alleviate the stress, which is what I did this time. I used food as a crutch because yes, it is an addiction of mine. I want to learn even with that hunger, because the hunger never goes away. See, being addicted to food is a very weird thing. Not saying it's the most severe addiction, but unlike drugs that are physically addictive, right? With those, and again, I'm not saying those addictions aren't more severe, but here's the thing. Food, you need it to survive too. So this food being my drug, it's a weird, I can't just step away from be like, oh, I'm never going to eat food again. I've overcome my addiction. Therefore I don't need to eat food. No, you need to eat food or, you die. Whereas if you're addicted to drugs or alcohol, and again, I'm not saying those aren't severe addictions, and they're more severe in many cases. The one benefit you have to them, if you could call it a benefit, is that you never have to take that drug again. You never have to drink alcohol again. You can, that thing that is your weakness, you can stay away from so you're not tempted by it. You can't do that with food. So instead of just trying to increase a dose, which I could have, I had the choice to, but she was like, hey, if you're disciplining yourself with food, why would don't take a higher dose? That's why I'm not, because I know I need to have a better relationship with food. And that's what I'm learning now. And that's why I'm continuing to lose the weight. So I don't know why I felt to make this video. I know people have noticed that I've lost a significant amount of weight. That's why. And I'm still on a journey. I know I need to lose more weight. I also want to get back to the gym and lift so I'm not just a floppy dude with a bunch of extra skin, which some of that I'm not going to be able to do anything about. But you get my point. I want to have some strength too. So that's my next step. So there you go. I still have a long journey to go with this, and I'm excited to take that journey. I know it's going to be a challenge, and I've learned that no matter what life throws your way, you can't change your relationship with food. You can't use stressors in your life as a reason to go back to overeating, and that's something I always have to keep in the back of my mind. If you're losing weight too or trying to, and you're struggling, I feel you. It's a challenge. Look at what happened to me. Have a good one.